South's oldest rivalry was renewed today. Auburn, unfortunately, did not get the win, but it was a surprising game. The Tigers fall 20-27 in Jordan-Hare Stadium, kind of proving that maybe Georgia isn't as good as they might be. Auburn might be a little bit better. We'll talk about it. Let's react to the game, look at some stats, see what we think about what we just saw. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As you're coming into the stream, as always, we'd like for you to do a couple things for us. If you feel like we have earned it, we would love for you to smash that like button as you're starting out or watching the show, if you feel like we earned that like button from you. Also, we would love for you to check in with us, post where you're watching from, your city, your state, international. Let me know where you are checking in with us from. Would love to hear from you and hear from your thoughts this evening about this particular game. Wow, folks. Reacting that way or talking about it that way are trying to understand how Auburn could find itself in a position to beat the number one team and then potentially, being 3 minutes away from upsetting the Georgia Bulldogs. But here we are. They're a much higher ranked team and they're a much better team than us right now, proven by the results. And because of that, obviously we have to kind of tip the hat to them for the most part to the Georgia Bulldogs. We also have to kind of just sit back and relax and kind of try to take in things as best we can. I know it's a little bit frustrating. Things are a little bit raw. There are many opinions floating around. Obviously, we can talk about and break down as much of that as we can. We are on the road, so please do let me know how the stream is in terms of connectivity, sound. We're in the mobile broadcast studio, aka my car, and I'm always a little bit concerned about that. So if you guys have gotten any issues or everything's okay, please do give me the okay, because I want to make sure we're giving you the best possible quality stream as we can. We're in the same place-ish, moved around a little bit, that we were last week, although a little bit different spot with different connectivity issues. All right, let's jump into this. I know how I opened up the show. If there are some Georgia Bulldog fans popping in, which I'm sure you will be, to bark, adults barking, that's kind of weird. You're reacting to what I just said. A couple of things are either true here. Georgia is not as good as advertised, or Auburn's better than advertised. Which one is it? I'm kind of leaning the former, I guess is what it would be in that scenario. The former would be that Georgia is not as good as advertised. I sat down with some fine people and friends after the game at a tailgate, and we talked a little bit about it. And it is very much our opinion when we were sitting there talking that this Georgia team is very much at this moment overrated, have not been tested. Today was their biggest test, and you could see that in a lot of the ways that they faltered in some areas, nearly gave the ball away 3 times. That third one was not a fumble. I know Auburn fans wanted it to be. I wanted it to be too, but it was not a fumble. But if you remember back to our preview show, if you happen to have been there for that, I made a couple predictions, and I'm not just trying to toot my own horn here, but I want to kind of lay the groundwork that this is kind of how I saw it shaking out if these scenarios happened. Auburn could take care of the ball, which it did until the last play. We'll talk about that. And it could get 2 takeaways, an interception or a fumble. I thought they would find themselves in a position to win the game at the end of it all. If they got 3, and they almost did, they were going to win the game. You're going to be hard-pressed to convince me that if Auburn does not get that ball there on the 30-yard line and gets even 3 points from it, Georgia's in a world of hurt in the middle of the third quarter. Now, they obviously can move the ball very well with Brock Bowers and McConkey, and you can see why they're such talented wide receivers and tight ends. And it's very frustrating at times to watch that unfold. And sometimes you just got to tip your hat to athletes. So Auburn obviously went toe-to-toe with the number one team and gave them all they could stand up until 3 minutes in the game. And it's really got to a situation where you can be upset that we lost, but you also have to kind of take in the fact that we weren't supposed to be in this position. That's just kind of where my mind and my reactions are kind of right now, but want to hear some of your perspectives on what you have to think. John is here. Devin's here. Corey's here. Good to see all of you fine folks. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Corey said a little bit earlier before we went live, that was a good game. The offense still needs a ton of work. The biggest thing is everyone needs to get on the same page. I concur with that. There does seem to still be some issues. Peyton threw a decent ball down the sideline. I think it was number 8. And he was running the wrong route, or Peyton threw the wrong ball. But we've seen and heard a pattern that wide receivers and tight ends have had some misalignment, route running issues, not knowing where they're supposed to be issues. That's just what we were told. I'm not saying that I know that for a fact, and now I'm seeing some of that on the field. I don't put that one on him. Let's talk about the interception in the end of the game. It is his fault for throwing the interception. He threw it. But what are you supposed to do? He stood in the pocket, waited, and, to the offensive line's credit, they gave him enough time and the wide receivers enough time to get open, and it obviously wasn't happening. You can make a case maybe he hesitated on the wrong route too long and missed it or whatever, sure. But in a 4th and 9, you got to make something happen, and he forced it in there and forced it too much, and it was intercepted. So to me, it is his fault for throwing the interception, but I don't really get mad at him. I don't really fault him for that particular thing. That's just my opinion. Not sure how you guys think. Kevlar says, we played hard, but Thorne did not get enough help from the receivers. I agree with that statement. I agree that there could have been a lot more assistance in terms of catching balls that hit them in the hands. Thorne threw a couple of really beautiful balls, especially to Rivaldo Fairweather right over the top of the defender's hands, utilizing that guy's length and catching radius, and you like that connection a lot. What I am interested in and confounded by is the lack of a attempt as a passing game. And I actually need to atone for this. I always say this on other live streams. If I make a prediction or say something, I'll come back if I remember to, obviously, and correct it, say I was wrong. A lot of were asking, are we going to break 100 yards passing? And let me confirm to make sure. We did not. 88 passing yards between the two quarterbacks that threw a ball. So I was wrong. To me, it felt like by design. It doesn't feel like they were given a lot of opportunities to throw the ball around tonight, Robbie or Peyton. But when they did a good job for the most part. So that obviously interception is going to scar Peyton Thorne's record a little bit further. So, yeah, when you look at him on paper, he's not going to look great, but it is what it is. John says, good effort. Rebuilding continues. Hope recruiting went well today. I will tell you this. In as much as the Auburn fans, the people that handle the event and hope for a great atmosphere are concerned, I would say they aren't concerned. Today was a raucous crowd, even in the warmest game that we've had thus far. And I would also add, stayed, obviously, because it was a down-to-the-wire game. Throughout the entire game, the energy was great. You got to think that a good impression was made for current commits, but also commits that are or recruits that are thinking about committing or flipping or whatever. Devin says, War Eagle fam, kind of more heartbreaking than a blowout, but dang, I'm proud of how our team bounced back after last week. So I think hopefully what this does, and I think this is kind of what maybe Devin's getting at here, is a lot of the overreaction, and it was, folks. Now, it's not one person in particular, one group in particular, but like there was a lot of overreaction about last week. Hopefully this shows you that, yes, this team is still got a long way to go, but they're not as far along as some people made it out to be last week. The passing game is. It will get better, hopefully. But hopefully we are no longer panicking about such things. Wild Jumper seems to want to continue. Why are we so bad at football? We're not the worst in football right now. We are not at a great place as a program because we made a decision 3 years ago to fire a head coach during a COVID year when we had no business firing a head coach. Was not a proper hire. We hired someone that was clearly not a right fit, further putting us into a trench that 2 transitions in 3 years does. And here you are. Affects all things: recruiting, stability of the program, morale around everything. So that's your answer. But here's the thing that I think you're missing, Wild Jumper. The team just went toe-to-toe with the number one team in the land. Got some commentary about, some Georgia fans here in a second. Peyton Thorne was not the problem today. Not saying he ever was, but you can't say he was today. I think Peyton still made some mistakes today, and you can't have some of those, but he was clearly not the problem. We started out pretty rough with protecting him, but it seemed like we gave a little bit more protection, or maybe it was plays designed to really keep Georgia on their heels from coming after him with a lot of the, I guess, RPOs or, to me, they all look like read options, which I love, frankly. And little Peyton Thorne went scampering down the side, which was pretty great, wasn't it? John seems pretty happy from some of your commentary now. Thorne could still improve, but this was a better effort. I think if what you saw today against Georgia had taken place against Texas A&M, we're not having the overreaction that happened at the after the Texas A&M game. Texas A&M was a wake-up call for a lot of people, I think, who were really, really, clutching their pearls for that magical 2013 season again, which we loved, but we were ruined by to some extent. Corey's asking if this is Thorne's only year. I believe he's listed as a junior, so no. I mean, he could play another year, but if I have that correct. The whole COVID situation, COVID year, just makes everything confusing, but I believe he could be here another year. Will that happen? I don't know. If you guys don't want him, I guess continue to talk bad about him. Not you specifically, Corey, but whoever else. And maybe he'll do like Bo did and run off somewhere for his final year and then ball out. And then we'll be like, why'd we ever get rid of Peyton Thorne? Pushing the number one team was true, not expected. I believe they played hard today. Absolutely. Nobody gave him credit. Vegas didn't give him credit. The Bulldogs didn't give him credit. Now, I will say, I had some very unpleasant Bulldog fans in front of me. But amongst themselves, especially when things were not looking good for them, they were pretty down about their team and kind of some perspectives about them. So that was pretty interesting to watch. The 4th down call at the end of the first half was disturbing. Why not go with Ashford for 1 yard instead of Thorne? Pass play that was never their mistake by the offensive coordinator. Maybe. I mean, I'm not the offensive coordinator, so I'm not going to say it was a mistake. I don't know what they saw. It's easy for us to make those statements when we're sitting up in our TV rooms in the game and say, I saw that coming from a mile away. Did you really? Or are you just kind of making the statement after the fact? Sometimes you can, but they're making decisions based off what they're being given, what their looks are. So I vaguely remember what you're talking about. I probably in that scenario wouldn't have done what they did, but there was obviously a reason they felt that they were going to be successful. They're not going out there trying to fail, right? Hugh Free said the decision to go for it and not kick the field goal was based on analytics. There's that buzzword again. I feel like that died off for a little bit. I'm not a fan of the analytics word, but he's got people that help him make those decisions. So if they said go for it, go for it. Listen, I have no problem with being aggressive at home. Analytics or not. It's your momentum, your crowd. Do what you want. Now, I'd be curious to know when we used the first timeout in the second half when it looked like Georgia was going to go for it on 4th down, or at least they were trying to draw us off sides, if they actually would have done it. I kind of wish we had let them. Even if they get the 4th down, can you imagine if they don't? That's a humongous momentum swing. So like that moment, not getting that third turnover were huge moments that could have been missed, that were missed opportunities. See, I like. I'm very pleased with at least the live commentary. Will interesting to see on the replay what people are saying. That's usually where some of the experts, as they like to think of themselves, make commentary after the fact. But I think most of you are showing very well-rounded thoughts about this, understanding where we're at as the program, and you should be not happy, but calmed about the situation that we saw last week. And there's some good things that come out of this, hopefully, with recruiting and things like that. And I agree with that sentiment, John. He has a year of eligibility, but the way we're treating him, the way things are going for him, I would not. It feels a lot like the Bo Nix scenario. All right, I'll catch up on a few more comments, then we'll look at some stats and go from there. Erica says the pass catch ratio is 50-50. In most cases, catchable ball goes a long way to a wide receiver success. The other side is that what wide receiver has to catch the catchable passes. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. Yes, let's talk about some good things. Thank you, Corey. How about Simpson leading the nation in INTs this season? Is that like true still? Because there's still football to be played today, and I wonder if there's someone that's going to match him or whatever. Can we just celebrate Jalen Simpson? This guy came in here as a freshman, started playing, and got off to a hot start and got injured, got himself right, came back and became a productive member, and maybe had some trepidations at times at cornerback, switches over to safety, and is just balling out in his, I guess this would be his senior year, and is making the case for himself to be moving up in the ranks of an NFL draft. So you may be looking at Auburn's next great defensive back prospect in the draft. 4 interceptions. And let me point this out to you. It's not just the interceptions. He's making plays out on the edge, tackling wise, that others aren't making, laying great hits in open field, but just making great hits on solid tackles. He deserves to get some credit for today, and I don't want that, even in a loss, to be lost, because I mean, he balled out. Absolutely balled out. Let's see. It's just not understanding that comment. Let me see. I don't think Hunter is playing at 100%. Does that seem that way? It's interesting that you asked this, John. It's interesting that you asked this because one of my friends made a comment today via group text that I feel like Jarquez he's a great back, but he isn't even our best back. Brian Battie is our best back. I forgot to text back to him. You literally said this about Jarquez Hunter in relation to Tank Bigsby last year. It's ironic, right? It's just really ironic. Brian Battie is quite the, wow, what the heck? Why am I getting balloons on my stream? Did I get something special? Did anybody else see the balloons pop up? That was weird. That was really weird. I have no clue what just happened. Kind of creeped out by it. Please, someone tell me they saw the balloons, because I'm a little bit tripped out by it. I don't know if he's hurt, if they're just trying different things because he's gotten off to a slow start. I don't know. Thank you. Did someone give us something or something like that? Did we reach a milestone? That's interesting. Well, whoever sent the balloons, thank you. Let's go look at some of the stats here now that we're kind of through some of the commentary here. Defense. First of all, I'm going to look at, it's going to move slow. Here we go. Your leading tacklers, we'll just kind of walk through it. Larry Nixon with 8, great game for him. Asante with 7. Marcus Harris had a great game too. I do remember that. 2 tackles for loss, forced fumble. So really great for him today. So you could probably make a case that Marcus Harris and Jalen Simpson are your MVPs, but then you've got Larry Nixon and Asante doing great work tackles-wise. Jalen McLeod had a great day, 5 tackles. Cam Riley with 4. Then you got several with 3 down to 2 and 1. So defensively today against a team that maybe is not – you sent the balloons? How did you send the balloons? Are you messing with me? It's crazy. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted with the balloons because that's how big it threw me off. But if you send them, thank you. I don't know what they mean. Enough about the balloons. I can't even remember. Today is, I think some people are struggling to find their scapegoat today because you can't really lump that much on Peyton. You can't lump that much on receivers. Maybe that's a little bit more. Even offensive line, you can't lump a whole lot. We're still trying to find our footing, our identity as an offense. I saw someone go after Ron Roberts, and he responded on social media talking about why didn't you double team, or we called it bracket him. And he said, what game are you watching? We bracketed him the whole game. Some guys are just great athletes. They just are. And great playmakers. And I heard this theme a lot. If you listen to our interview with Randy from Madame Beast Media this week, he talked a lot about how slow Georgia gets going. But once they do, it's kind of hard to stop. And that kind of proved to be true tonight. And if I will maintain that if Auburn gets that third fumble and gets any points, we're probably talking about a different story today. Let's see here. Special balloon powers. Wow. Yeah. For a time on the defense where we've been really wanting someone to step up and make a name for themselves, Harris is starting to kind of do that. So if you got the names like Asante at linebacker, Nixon's kind of making some waves to Marcus Harris, Jalen Simpson. We know DJ James is great. We've got a decent defense right now, but we might have an even better defense as things kind of all come together. A great 2 weeks to kind of kick back, figure out what isn't working and what we can do to make it work better. And Corey points out that as beat up as we are, we're actually doing decent at this point. It's a fair point to have in this as well. This is a team that's had a lot of injuries. I think a lot of people got back this week, but still you've lost a couple of key players at linebacker, defensive back that you really had to have, and you're not falling apart. So credit to some of this young talent. Erica says, I'm not into moral victories, but is this one? I mean, I think some people get too much on their high horse about, I don't believe in moral victories. That's really a personal thing. If you want to take it as a moral victory, sure, why not? Who's going to stop you? I mean, don't let other people change your opinion. This is not a moral victory. It is simply, I would start calling it a confirmation or an affirmation that we're not as bad as we thought we were after Texas A&M. That's how I look at it. Neil, I know you were very adamant that we were going to get destroyed. And I tried to tell you, friend, that we wouldn't get destroyed. I even gave Georgia more credit than they deserved. 38-28 was my prediction. But, yeah, we were all, I think, even the people that were predicting Auburn to win were off too. So it's just one of those games where it kind of levels the field for what is actually going on in the SEC. The dropped interception was the game changer because we would have gotten the ball at midfield. But they instead get a touchdown. Sure. Yeah, sure. Why did Freeze go away from the RPO? Auburn was killing it. Well, you'd have to ask him. They knew it was working, just the same you saw it. We all saw it. Obviously, they ran it a couple times and it didn't work, and they tried to do something different. So there are reasons for why that. It's not as simple as it was working, keep doing it. That very rarely works unless you're just a bad team or you're playing against a bad team, or a team that has nowhere near the talent that you can, and Auburn can just run the ball over them or pass the ball over them like some of the teams earlier. That's different. We should have took out Bowers. I mean, I don't know what you want to do other than illegally and wrongly trying to hurt him. he is what he is, right? Hopefully he's gone after this year. McConkey's pretty good too. The running back did decent. Let me go back and look. Go back to the game here. Edwards, 19 carries for 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a nice day at the office. It's not great. It's nothing to really get excited about, nor is it something to be dismissed by us. Carson Beck is 23 for 33, 313 yards, 1 touchdown. We've already talked about the passing. It's not great. Thorne is your leading rusher again. I'm not mad at it. I'm just trying to understand. And we only get the ball to 4 people receiving wise: Fairweather, Battie, Fair, Brown, and Hunter. 2 of those are running backs. 1's a tight end. 2 are wide receivers. Got to find a way to get the ball back to multiple receivers. Yes, he is. What if we just did the rugby style QB sneak all game long? Sure, why not? I know RPO stands for run pass option, but what does that actually mean? I'm going to give you my version of it, and someone's probably going to, especially in the replays, scream at me, you don't know what you're talking about. So sure, I never claimed to know that, but run pass off. It's run pass option, not run pass offense. It is a decision-based offense where the quarterback can make the choice, or they can kind of change things at the line. It's to me, and I know this is not a fair comparison, right? But it's like the read option. There's a read you make to decide whether you're, as the quarterback, you're going to run or throw it. And that is what Cam Newton did well. That's what Nick Marshall did well. It's what Gus Malzahn's bread and butter was for most of his time. Run pass offense sounds good, right? But it's run pass option. It is annoying. I think it's 7 years now since we've beaten Georgia. History tells you we don't have a lot of success in Athens, so it may be 8 if we don't get things really, really turned around. But it is annoying. I will say that I'm pleasantly surprised with everybody's, at least here on the live stream, very level-headedness about all of this too, though. Don't apologize for Devin for learning. We're all here. We're all learning together, right? This is one of these shows where people are going to act high and mighty on you. If they do, we'll kick them out. All right. We have talked about defensive stats. We have talked about offensive stats. Let's really quickly, here are some team stats. 307 total yards for Auburn tonight. It was better than I thought. Most of those are rushing yards. This was the stat I wanted to talk about. So we can point to the missed interception, the fumble that wasn't a fumble if we had gotten that one, maybe some poor decisions at times. But to me, the stat, we talk a lot about this in basketball games, the stat that was the biggest difference, 3rd downs. Georgia, 8 for 13. Auburn, 2 for 12. To me, that tells the story of the game. If Auburn gets 6 or 7 of those in crucial moments that maybe alter the flow of that drive, this is a much different game alongside some of those other things that happen. So this is very much a case of if and buts were candies and nuts, we'd always have a Merry Christmas, right? But that's why you play the game. John had given his explanation. The quarterback has the option to hand the ball off with a rub. It's kind of, I'll let you explain it. Depending on the defense, the quarterback can pull the ball and pass it. Yes. To me, maybe it's like the opposite of the read option, because you're looking to run usually in that option. Now, Neil, you and I both know, buddy. I know I think you're being funny too. Doesn't affect you at all. It does affect us. Me too, buddy. Devin, that was a good prediction. I predicted we'd get on the board first, and my score prediction was 27-24. Just thought we would pull it out. You were close. Just needed a few more points there. All right. Final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals. We're at 30 minutes now. I know we don't want to spend our entire time just kind of going on and on about things. But if there's a topic, a player that you want to shout out, a question you have, like something that maybe we haven't talked about that frustrated that you don't understand, thoughts for the future, get them in now. A couple reminders for you. We will be doing our Auburn Experience podcast live recording this Sunday. Don't miss it. Episode 52. Austin and myself back in the saddle. We'll talk about this weekend. I might have a little bit of a food review coming up. We'll see if that's going to be a whole segment or just one of those mini segments that we do. But plenty to talk about. Basketball's gotten started too, so maybe that'll be a big topic too. Don't miss it. Check out the links in the description here on YouTube. If you want to help support us, there are things you can do, such as donating. You can do super chats. You can be part of the Conquer Club. My hope is that my life is going to be getting much more stable over the next 2 weeks, especially with having the bye week and then an away game. Looking forward to be back here on campus for the Ole Miss game. Hopefully we're going to have some nice fall weather when we arrive here that time, and hopefully we're going to have a night game. I think that has a potential to be a nice get back to things after what could be, the delay of a bye week. Ole Miss, LSU is probably going to be an uphill battle for us, but it'll be a nice kind of get back to things here on campus in the middle of the fall. October is always weird because it's like we're only here for 1 or 2 weeks, sometimes 1 week. It's just how it always lands out in the schedule. Felix, good to see you. We're about to wrap up, so get your comments in here. I just don't want Georgia to get a three-peat. None of us do. And I think they look pretty susceptible right now. People doubted that this game was going to be close. I applaud our boys. They fought, and I can get behind that. The bye week needs to be a beast for us. Still a long road ahead. Yep. Some similar sentiments here. It is dinner time. I am going to go get my sympathy Taco Bell tonight. But this overall has been a good stream, and I really appreciate you guys being here, first of all, but obviously not being just over the top like we all have a tendency to do sometimes in losses. And hopefully, after we all kind of sit back, the team kind of recuperates. Sympathy Taco Bell, yes, it's a thing. I also have Victory Taco Bell, but I love Taco Bell. Folks, I know what I'm eating. I know it's not. I don't need to be putting that in my body, but I do it anyway. It's a guilty pleasure. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, being part of our little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate y'all so much. Stay tuned. Still plenty of content coming out here at E2C Network, even with a bye week. Got lots of stuff for you coming up. Still, I'll talk to you again. War Eagle.